Hey everybody, we're going to let people join here, and welcome to Quill Pad, and I'm Gary, for those of you who already know me, and those who don't. We'll be joined in just a minute by Wilhelm Schmid, the CEO of A Lange Shne. Nice jacket, Gary. There we go. No. It's ketone, I think. Ketone? Ketone, yeah. But, hey, Gaetan. All right. Yes, a couple of people saw the tech dry run an hour ago. I was wearing an old, actually BMW Club sweatshirt. Maybe I should have kept that on. All right. So we'll let a few more people join. The infamous L951.1 is with us. And let's see. All right. Well, not to tease you, but I do want to let a few more people get into the queue here. Hello, Jane. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. We're going to talk about cars today. I've got my favorite car right here, the A Lange Shne 25th anniversary Trabant. And I'm not sure that we were supposed to take these home from the dinner, but I did anyway. So what the heck? Okay. Yeah, the door's open. I mean, this is a high quality model. I mean, it's probably at least as good as the original car itself. All right, let's see if the Lange account is here. There we go. Let's invite in our distinguished guest. Well, there he is.
Hi, Gary.
How are you?
I am very well. And yourself? Thank
Very
you.
well, thanks. Very well, thanks. We are here in Northern California. Happily, we've been spared some of the worst, and we're staying in as much as possible. But it looks like maybe you've got a little something going on here.
Yeah. I could now, make a lot of stories about it, but matter of fact, it's probably a late tribute to the South African sun. There was a little bit of suspicious skin that I had to be taken out, which happened about 2 days ago. And this is as good as it gets at the moment. 2 days ago, I was not allowed to talk. So again, I can speak at least.
Well, it's wonderful to have you join, and thanks to Lange for setting this up. This will be less than an hour. The good news, is for people who've heard me talk at length, is that after an hour, Instagram shuts it off anyway. So we'll go shorter than that for sure.
At least I do. I'm honest with you. If it's too long or too boring, I just move on.
Absolutely. So as a tradition, right? You have to share what are you wearing right now? What watch do you have on your wrist?
I'm actually very, very happy. Tony gave a very special watch to me, which is the Odysseus in white gold, with a leather strap, because the rubber straps, so far, we got a few, but we weren't happy with the quality. So this is as good as it gets at the moment. And I have to say, I'm wearing it now for about good 5 weeks. You get very used to the watch, to say the least. I absolutely enjoy it.
Well, I'll just share quickly, right? I've got
Look, how often will you see this? Well, at the moment, nowhere, because I think there's only one watch out so far. A few more of yours, but also not too many.
One thing that I found really impressive with the introduction of the white gold piece is it's a different watch. the dial, not only is you say, well, we'll make the dial a different color, but the textures of the dial are different. They got the radial grooves. It's maybe just talk for a minute about that and why it's a different piece.
Look, I have somebody called Tony De Haas, and he has a team, and sometimes they can create headaches, but usually they come up with great ideas, and that's a matter of fact. They're never happy with the first idea or the first attempt. So they usually take something and then bring it to the next edge, which does have consequences, I have to say. The dial specifically of the wild gold version, it took us a while to understand how we can produce it, because in the beginning, because of the different structures, there was a tendency to have it, slightly uneven. And you can try to fix the two date and day windows or frames, fix that to something which is slightly curved. It doesn't work. So, that's the flip side of the coin. If you do something always new, you always have new problems, a little bit like with software. But I have to say, if you look at it, it is really a very different watch to yours. Even they share the same movement, the same case, the same complication, if I can call it like this, but they really are definitely very different.
So do you have a favorite between the two?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're wearing the white one. That gives me a hint, right?
Let me put it this way. As Tony gave the watch to me, they called it the Wilhelm color combination. So my team knows exactly what I really love, and I have to say, that's the watch I can live with very well.
Yeah. One of the people who was commenting in the stream says, the white with gray is a classic Lange combination for sure. And
the idea of later having a rubber strap and changing it quickly. If I go to South Africa and I'm being exposed to a slightly rougher environment than here in Glashütte, at least if you call the beach a rough environment or the pool, I think that's a keeper.
Yeah. Well, obviously Odysseus is a big move for Lange and gets you very much into the active watch, the dressy casual watch category. But Lange has been considering this since the time of Herr Blumlein.
Yes.
So why is now the time? And was there a specific event or a tipping point or something you saw where you and the team said, let's go?
No. Look, we had lots of ideas, but what we were lacking was really, the one phase out of which you can create a whole family. A little bit like the Lange one, and you know how difficult it is to have a strong design and then develop the next iteration, because a strong design usually comes also with restrictions and limitations. So that was actually the milestone. As we identified, we can work with the day and the date indication, which will give the face to the watch, but we can also use the same face for iterations that will come later on with additional complications and so on and so forth. Then we know that was the moment where we know now we have something that we can work on. And then, you have no idea how many tiny little changes are creeping in whilst you work progressively on the watch. And then, of course, we had that idea 24th of October last year, 25 years after the launch of the first 4 Lange watches. We thought, what could be a better date to launch the 6 watch family than this specific date? So, but the starting point was about 5 years earlier, 6 years earlier. And as we got closer, we're running out of time. Now we have to rush. We have to get ready. Right. The 24th of October is around the corner. And here we are, and now we have already 2 iterations, white, gold, and steel, launched successfully into the market.
Right, and I think you raise a great point about having a family of watches. It's not just a watch. And you say, well, we need a sport. No, but it's already shows great promise. When might we expect to see another
nice try, Gary. Nice try.
Can't blame me for asking,
No, actually, if you hadn't tried, you wouldn't see who you are. But I have to say, I can't share at the moment.
Okay, well, Well, do you have some other things to share with us today?
Look, we launched quite a few watches very recently, as you probably know, the Lange One time zone in 3 iterations. And funny enough, there are 2 that actually have that are sticking out. The yellow gold, which I always thought is a very German thing. We still have a few. We always have yellow gold watches in our collection. Typically the Lange One. But we only produce a handful a year, and it's predominantly for some of our clients in Germany or in Austria. But now with the Lange One time zone in yellow gold, very suddenly the whole world wants yellow gold. And that's a little challenge for us because we will only produce 100. I would just make sure they come to the right wrists. And the other one is the white gold with the black dial, because we never had a black dial on that watch before.
Yeah, super.
So a lot of people that have the original one say, yeah, I need a second one because it was never available in black. So now I go for the white gold black. It's a good start in weird times. Let me put it this way.
Yeah. Well, I just remember the Jumping Seconds watch in yellow was maybe in some ways the most popular, at least by some people. Yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. But was also the lowest limitation numbers of the Jumping Second, and it was the watch that Walter Lange would have chosen, and so on and so forth. So there were a lot of stories for the die-hard collectors to go for the yellow gold version.
Yeah. Well, I hate to be too much of a watch nerd, but I am wearing a yellow gold.
Other Walter Lange special.
Exactly. That he always wore the number 1 Pour la Marite, and
Yes, it's here in the house actually, somewhere in the safe. Because that's what we kept and we kept it as we got it back from him. So it's untouched.
Well, I remember at SIHH several years ago, we had the opportunity to sit with him for a little bit, and I think it was Tino came out, and we were talking, and one of the group asked Herr Lang, he said, when's the last time you had the watch serviced? And he said, I've never had the watch serviced.
No, he was, in Germany we have that saying, praying water and drinking wine. He was always saying, you need to bring the watch to service and so on and so forth. But as a matter of fact, he always relied on us that if it would be urgent, we would fix it for him quickly. Good reason, I have to say,
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, maybe change the topic a little bit. Watches and cars. You're a car enthusiast. I'm a car enthusiast. I was showing right before you came on my favorite car.
You took it. We missed quite a few of them after the dinner, to be honest.
Yeah, I confess. I'm not sure whether we were supposed to take them or not.
You know what? It's a lot easier because otherwise we had to bring them back to Germany. So better to go.
The customs officials and everything. It's much easier if I just, No, but
there are 2 souvenirs. We usually have these serviette rings, the silver ones. They also, have an amazing disappearing rate, if I can put it this way. Some people obviously collect them. I was with a collector the other day who said, it's time for another invitation. I'm on 7, I need 8.
Yeah, I will say I've never taken one of those, but this I thought was too good to pass on. But you know, obviously you have a personal connection to collecting car enthusiasm, but long as well with Villa d'Este and other events. Why is that a natural fit for Lange?
Look, I think you need to have one field at least that you have to either expose your watches or your maison or your brands to people that are not necessarily immediately connected to it. Can be art, can be music, can be architectural, sport, and we choose actually Concorde Elegance because sport at the time, as we sort of said, we go into that field, we had no sport watch, so it would have been very artificial to go into sport. Music we tried, but to be honest, we could never find a natural connection between music and mechanical art. So that was difficult to get the bridge. But then we realized if you look to these Concorde Elegance and to the people that participate and to the cars that participate, and you think about Lange and Söhne, heritage, craftsmanship, design, then this is exactly what you find in these cars and also in the people that either restore the car or keep them, as they are and running, which is quite an exercise, believe you me. So we realized that could be a natural fit, and now we do it for about 8 years. And it works quite well, I have to say. Our customer enjoy being exposed to something they would naturally not choose. And we also realized that a huge amount of people that bring their cars love fine mechanical watches, but have never heard about us. And now we are naturally a good choice for them because they know we are sharing a hobby.
Yeah. What you mentioned, right? Car maintenance. That's one thing, you do have to have watches service from time to time, but I don't need a garage for my watches, which is a happy thing. And I don't need a mechanic. And
and if you go from A to B, it's a lot easier to carry 2 or 3 than if you do the same with cars.
Yeah, also true. I mean, are there other big differences that you see between the collectors themselves? I mean, you've mentioned already some overlaps, but are car people different from watch people?
I honestly believe a collector is a collector. There are collectors that are very knowledgeable and they really understand what they collect. And there are collectors that have somebody that curates their collection. And I think that is more the difference. I believe that somebody that is really into the details of his cars is probably more similar or closer to a typical Lange und Söhne collector. Because, I always realized that our clients wear their watches. I see it if I go to the after sales department, to the service department, and I look at the watches, and you can obviously see these watches, regardless how expensive they've been, they're worn. Yeah. Which is great because it means they've been used. So the men or the women who choose this watch did this on purpose, an educated decision. I want to wear it, I want to live with it. And that goes a little bit, that's where I see the bridge. Collectors are collectors, but there are different collectors, and some collectors are very knowledgeable. Sometimes you can call them even a little nerdy, but it's not bad, and others are, they use the collection to display themselves, which is also nothing. I'm not saying it's positive or negative, don't get me wrong. I just believe there's a higher connection between those customers that really drive their cars, know how to start it, know how to open. If you think you know to start a car, rest assured, with old cars, that's not always the case. And some need little tricks, and if you don't know them, you will never start the engine. And I've seen a few Concorde Elegance where the owner struggled to start their cars.
Right.
They ask for the mechanic to start it. So that's you know, and I think the typical Lange collector is an expert.
Yeah.
Somebody that knows about watches.
Well, and in the world of cars, right? You talk about garage queens, and in watches, they're safe queens. And
Yes.
yeah, I think I would absolutely agree with the Lange owners. I know there aren't a lot of safe queens among that group. Well, and I would think it's a sign of respect for the maker, right? Ed Gilbertson, the famous head judge at Pebble Beach for many years, and a big Ferrari guy. His famous line: "Ferraris were meant to be driven." And,
yes.
Watches were meant to be worn, in my opinion. So it's...
I so much agree. I was a watch collector before. I'm still a watch collector, but now I'm running A Lange Shne, and you can guess what I collect. But before that, I was just a normal watch collector, with limited funds. But, I spent quite some money on watches. I only had one watch that I sold after 2 years because I realized I never wear it.
Yeah.
But that's why I sold it.
Yep.
And other than that, the watches are still in the safe. They'll all be worn and used. And it's the same with my vintage cars. I drive them whenever possible. The only thing I don't expose them to is snow and ice and salt.
Yeah.
Salt probably even more than the other two, but usually, the moment that white stuff comes from, then the salt comes to the street, at least in Germany. So that's the only times where I don't drive the cars. Other than that, I drive them, and if it's raining and they get wet, so I don't care. Yeah. That's what I honestly think. Is there sometimes we talk about Grails and watches, someday. Is there a car for you that's maybe you will have it someday, maybe you'll never have it, but there's one on your list that you'd love to have? Yeah, look, I'm not the guy for the typical cars. I rather like the oddballs. And there are a couple of brands that for me are fascinating because, they did things in times and successful but small. I'm a big fan of a company called Fraser Nash. Mm-hmm. They only built 82 cars after World War II, so the likelihood to see one is not high. And there are a couple of cars of them that I could clearly see in my garage, but they are rarely on the market. They're unfortunately a bit expensive. But my dad always said to me, be careful with fulfilled dreams. So a dream also is a motivator. I keep looking, and eventually I'm sure I will find one.
Yeah. Well, the car that I wish I'd bought, is years ago at Concorso Italiano down in Monterey. There was a guy who on the field had for sale a Ferrari 275 GTB 2-cam maroon car, and I wanted a 4-cam. Are
you very picky, huh?
Yeah. Well, and he wanted $225,000 for the car, which to me was a lot of money.
Let's be honest. That's why you have no hair, because after you did that,
now what is
it
it?
all out.
And today it's a $6 million car or something. It's like I almost said yes. It's this is one of these things where you just kick yourself. But that to me is it's just a beautiful, beautiful car. But I'll never have one now.
No, I mean, today there are 1.5, 2 million at least.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And eventually, I also believe that if they become too valuable to be driven in normal traffic, that also can create a problem in itself. Huh?
Yeah, I agree. Well, the other one, you talk about oddball cars. And you'll laugh maybe, but the Fiat Jolly is a car I always wanted with the wicker seats and the roof with the fringe. But it's what I could probably afford one. But every time I go, it's like, well, I'll pay this, and then it's that, and it's never quite worth it to me whatever the
But
going
you know
price
what?
is.
A good friend of mine said there are people that will always run behind it, because whenever you think now's the moment, you realize, they got a bit more expensive. I wait before they come down, or I have more money. And then,
Yeah.
you know, you realize it's almost like you move parallel. So
Yeah,
you will never meet.
run behind. I'll use that term. Wow. Well, you know, we've known each other quite a while. Like we met
True.
2011, and it seems like yesterday, but you've been leading Lange since that time, and with good effect, I might add. What in your view? What's changed the most about Lange over the past decade, and are there things
Yeah.
you've learned about Lange customers in particular that kind of have stayed with you?
Yeah. Look, I think we moved a lot, but at the same time, we stayed true to ourselves. We have not touched a lot within the philosophy and how we develop and produce watches. You know, be it the double assembly or the craftsmanship, the labor work that goes into it. We've never touched this. Not, you know, because that's sort of the nucleus of the brand, and it would be detrimental to change that for a short-term profit or a short-term gain. Something which we do right now, we would have not even considered 10 years ago. I can well remember my first interview, believe it or not, 2011, very early, before SIHH, was a German magazine, and they asked me the question whether I would consider e-commerce for A Lange Shne. And I said, it's a question that I can't answer today, because in future I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, but right now it's not in the pipeline. I was almost killed for that answer, because in those days to even think e-commerce meant you didn't understand the market, or it was, you know, aggravating all your retail partners because they thought you bypassed them. And if you know, it's only 10 years, but today e-commerce is, you know, it's probably, even in these weird times, more important than ever before. I'm not saying that a lot of people buy, but if you see what the digital world is presenting to our clients, to our target group, to people that love watches, and if you go back 10 years where you had magazines and that was it, you know, that's the real fundamental difference. Today, everything is immediate, widely distributed, wildly shared, wildly discussed, and I think we have to accommodate that. We have to be close to this, because that's the only way how to stay close to your clients.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've moved a decent amount of your marketing group to Berlin. Maybe talk a little about that, and why that, and is that connected with this?
No, it's actually, you know, we have the paradise of watchmaking or watchmaker where I am here. It's tranquil, it's quiet, you know, it's focused, it's controlled. People live in and around the area. If there are no guests coming, like our clients, you know, it's only German. We have a few international watchmaker, but not that many. And I would call it, you know, that's the dream for a watchmaker or a finisher, because here you can focus on it. There's no distraction. Mm-hmm. But as much as we need a paradise for watchmaker, we also need a paradise for, you know, the digital marketing, retail, architectural, point of sale people. And I can't have the same in the same building. It won't work. These people don't wear a tie. They come in shorts to work, and I don't care. But if that happens in the factory, how do I explain to the one that they have to wear the stuff that we specifically design for them to avoid that dust and electricity and all that goes in, but the others can come and go as they wish because they work, you know, at night and on the computer. So eventually we decided we cannot create that environment in Glashütte. And gladly, we are only 2 hours in a train apart from, away from Berlin. And we said we moved to Berlin. And we get different people that I would not manage to bring to Glashütte to help us in creating that bridge from the paradise of watchmaking to the world.
Yeah, I remember years ago, a small group of us had a tour of a small manufacturer in Geneva. And we were going around, and the tour guide was this very nice lady. And I said at one point, boy, it must be an advantage for you to be in Geneva, you know, because you can attract watchmaking talent. And she said, absolutely not. Said the watchmakers all want to be out in the countryside with the cows. And and we have a lot of trouble hiring people who want to come to the city.
No, it's, as I said, you know, you have to create the right environment where people can really live their dream and perform. And if you have so different poles, you know, here it has to be volatile, exposed, vibrant, disruptive. Mm-hmm. And here you want to create the environment where you always never stand still. You always go a little higher than before, but all controlled, all focused, no distraction, controlled. How can you merge these two different characters in one city or in one building?
Yeah.
So, and again, with Berlin, we have truly a metropolitan city. It's amazing how strong this is pulling people to go to work to Berlin. And again, we are close by, so it's not like we have to use a plane. Right. You can do it in a car in 2 hours or in a train 2 hours. Usually we use train because you can work on it. But it's easy. And by now it's 2.5 years now. It works. There are still hiccups here and there, as you can imagine, but it works.
Yeah. And over the past 10 years, what are some things, or maybe one thing you've learned about Lange enthusiasts, Lange collectors? Who are those cats?
Only one thing. I tell you what, there was a test, and I think it happened very early. I think it had to be just after my first SIHH, so January 2011. And I welcomed a group of clients at the showroom, which at the time was at the manufacturing.
Right.
And the one guy gave his datograph perpetual calendar to me and said, that one button doesn't work. And I said, it is probably the one on the left side by about 10 to 11 o'clock. He said, yes. I said, you have to first pull the crown. Yes, exactly this one. You first have to pull the crown, and then you can sort of move all the perpetual calendar indication by 1 day. And of course, if you don't know your watches and you talk to clients, you are on very thin ice because they will test you. And that's the lesson. We are a die-hard watch company. I know that some people say our marketing may be a bit, we will never be known to have, and I don't mean that disrespectful to my marketing team. I think they do a great job, but we will always spend so much more money on the development and on the production of the watch. And again, as a small company, you have a euro and you allocate that euro or the cents of the euro to different things. And we are a strong believer that the moment of truth is not when you enter the shop and buy the watch. The moment of truth or the period of truth starts right after that. You wear the watch on the wrist, and as long as every morning you look at it, you wind it if it's a manual watch, or you look at it, and every time you still have that feeling, oh, Jesus. And you've long forgotten the high price, hopefully.
There we go. There we go.
But you still, then our job is done. And that is something which no marketing can do. that's only something which you can do if you really emphasize on your product first. And then you see all the other stuff later.
Yeah, for years I worked with a professor who's one of the world's, maybe the world's greatest authority on marketing channels. And clients would always ask him, what's the one secret to marketing channels? And he said, great product. And
which is true. And I'm not saying the other stuff, but it's again, we are a small company. We only produce a few thousand watches a year. We are in Germany, not in Switzerland. And automatically you have to deal with very restricted resources. If we don't educate our own watchmaker, we will never have new ones. Because if I go around here, there is no watchmaking environment. There is nobody else that will train watchmaker other than us and my colleagues around me. So it's really sort of a self-containing little city. Never say village. I did that mistake once. They're very proud to be a city. Doesn't look like a city though.
no comment.
And that is important for us. So we will always remain a product-focused brand with all the restrictions, production capacity, and all that comes with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've been quoted as saying one of the positives about being Lange is it's an insider's brand to some extent, but also you and I have talked in the past about your desire to have Lange recognized as not only a great watch brand, but one of those great luxury brands. How do you manage that trade-off? Yeah,
I have to say, when I always am being asked, is one of the three big challenges that we have. How do you maintain that secret? I think an American customer called it stealth wealth. That you can wear these watches and don't expose yourself as somebody that spends a lot of money on a watch, because only peers will discover what it is and understand the value of it. But on the other hand, Gary, whenever, and I do that actually next week, whenever we have this ceremony where we give the exam certificates to our young watchmaker, I feel the responsibility to ensure that when they are 40, 50, 60, there are still customers that buy our watches, because otherwise these people will have no work. And I totally understand that you and I were brought differently to watches than what we have to do today to bring fresh blood into fine watchmaking. And for that, you have to have a certain brand awareness, at least within, let's call it your target group or your segment. And that's what we need to work on continuously and never stop.
Yeah.
And we have to accept, with Odysseus, that sometimes you have to increase the scope of the brand. Even some people that really love you and trust me, that's the one thing I've learned very early as well. Our clients, they feel like owners of A Lange Shne. They are custodians. And we all know after love comes not friendship. After love comes usually hate. So to work that is not easy. I do my very best to maintain who we are, but I also have to ensure that this company has a future. And that means we can never rest on our laurels. We always have to push boundaries. Within the DNA of our brand, within the nucleus of our brand, but we can't afford to just continue what we were known for in the past.
Yeah, well, one of the things that about this watch that I know pleased me and pleases you to hear it, I'm sure, is if you cover the name. It's still very obviously a Lange watch, right? Everything from the case profile to the lug shape, obviously the movement and its finishing, the design language. you know, as you say, it's within the DNA of the brand and its brand personality and promise, but something very different.
Which was the biggest challenge, to bring something different, not only to what we have in current collection, but also what has never been there before in the market. So not another Me Too product, but also not too close to what we have already. I have, you know, I had customers that said, look, I love your watches, but you know, I don't want the steel watch. And I always say, you know, it's no problem. We still produce the others. We just launched the Lange One Time Zone, which is a very typical and classical watch. It's not that we stop doing these watches and now shift the companies to become, you know, the Odysseus brand. That's not it is just another watch family with a specific purpose, but it doesn't mean that we neglect the other 5 watch families that we are proud of owning.
Yeah. Well, obviously we're living in some challenging times right now, and I'm guessing that with having, you know, restrictions on operating the factory earlier in the year, it's been tough even to, you know, to fulfill the demand you have, and people out there, certainly maybe some of the people watching right now, are waiting for their Odysseus watches. Maybe just talk a little bit about you know, the constraints you've had with the current situation and how that's working out.
Yeah, look, as I said, the 24th of October, that was the deadline. So we were pushing hard, but that also means that we did not stop developing the watch after the 24th of October. So in the beginning, you only saw prototypes. And that means we had sort of a slow ramp up at the manufactory. And as we were, which was January, February, you know, we were where we wanted to be. And then came Corona. And from where we wanted to be, it was like, not because demand was slow, but the bracelet, for example, comes from a company that is located in northern Italy. They were 3 months just not open. And we had no stock. So we are far behind what we had planned for this year. Same for the white gold version, to be honest. At the moment, you see only prototypes. I hope that, you know, in the next couple of weeks, we start supplying, but it's not safe yet. There is, and we were always open about that, you know, the movement is A to Z, A Lange and Söhne. But the cases, for example, were our design, and our people go there to ensure that the quality is in line with the movement quality, but we don't produce them. And there we rely on supplier, and a lot of the Swiss suppliers that come predominantly from Switzerland, they close or they're still at 50%. So we don't really get what we need. And that means, and I do apologize for all these that are complaining, and I understand the complaints. It's not artificial. Believe you me, I would rather have a lot more people back in the factory and produce watches, but I can't, because, you know, a watch with all these supplier parts, without it is not a watch. And that not only goes for the Odysseus, it also goes for the Lange One Time Zone, for the typical classical Lange One, we're also short supply, the datograph short supply. It's just, I don't get enough of the parts that we don't produce ourselves.
Right.
And on top of that, the requests for the Odysseus in steel and in white gold is a lot higher than what we have anticipated.
Well, that's in some ways a happy problem, but then you're managing.
Luxurious problem. I'm not complaining. As a matter of fact, I say thank you to all those that love the watch, and just apology from me that we can't supply at the moment. Stay with us, stay patient. It's worth it. We do really our best, but it is very challenging at the moment.
And without getting into any numbers, is it your plan to increase the production of the Odysseus line substantially relative to historical Lange production numbers, or is it going to be part of the current volume?
No, we have increased a little bit before Corona kicked in. So we built capacity for the Odysseus family, but because it's not only the Odysseus that is in short supply, it's the other watches as well. And I don't want to become a mono brand. So we will always control tightly what we do and where we allocate resources. And again, because we are who we are and we do things the way we want to do the things, is the movement is a typical A Lange Shne movement, which comes with the typical production capacity limitations and issues. And that's not going to change in the foreseeable future. Again, if the watchmaker we get new on board are usually the ones that finished their exams at our own watchmaker school. Right. And that means between 10 and 15 a year. And we have, some people retire or, become sick or move on. So it is a hard game to increase capacity.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier, yellow gold seems to be making somewhat of a comeback, at least in some models. Are we going to see? People have been predicting for a while the death of the dress watch. Do you think dress watches are? You said you don't want to be a mono line producer. Yeah. Is the dress watch something with a future?
I think it's like a pendulum. And can you remember as Panerai launched the first watch at 44 millimeter?
Yeah.
Everybody said, that will walk away. That's fashion. And today we know it's not fashion. It's there. It's there to stay. So there is, in today's world, sometimes, and at the moment, obviously, steel watches, that's the hottest thing in town. Tomorrow it will be yellow gold or whatever. But it doesn't mean that, now everybody moves to this, the other stuff will not be bought. And again, we're in a very privileged position. We only produce a few thousand watches a year, Gary, and they've been sold before Odysseus. And they will continue to sell whilst we build the Odysseus. And again, we will not reallocate too many resources from other watches that epitomizes us probably at the moment, like the Lange 1. So we don't sacrifice here to get more output with the Odysseus.
Right. You mentioned production constraints with the virus. Are there novelties waiting in a queue that you decided not to introduce at this point?
That's a very clever question, huh?
I didn't. I give you what are they?
There is something this year. When Ferdinand Adolf Lange founded A Lange Shne, A Lange at the time, that was 1845, and nobody needs to be a genius to calculate that this year is the 175th anniversary of that special day. And we will have a few very classical A Lange Shne watches for later on in the year. I think it's worth staying tuned in September. Okay,
very, very good. And you also mentioned earlier in the discussion, the idea of e-commerce and digital marketing. I think certainly I had never participated in an Instagram live before about 2 months ago.
We are two of them. Two now.
And,
me neither. I had Zoom interviews with clients that I've never met before. Something, I swear to God, was unthinkable 6 months ago.
6 months.
From both ends, to be honest, I would have never dared to think that, I can approach a client that I've never met before in this way, and I'm pretty sure clients weren't prepared in those. I can't count the number of Zoom interviews or presentations or chats that I had in the last 3 months. It's amazing, and people enjoy it like we enjoy. It's gladly we know each other in person, and I'm pretty sure that after we can meet again, there is a huge appetite to see what that who you met at Instagram or in a Zoom interview, how that person is in reality. So it's almost the opposite effect of what we just had. We know each other in person, but now we talk digital, and it's like it's the best thing we can get at the moment.
Yeah. And I just think back to the days of the very active days of the forums, right? Time Zone and Purist, and you'd make these friends, virtual friends, from around the world. Many of my friends, from Singapore and even Europe, and then you'd go to SIHH and see them in person. It was this revelation, and so the virtual and the physical interplay in a very positive way.
Yeah. I think, Gary, the appetite to build a personal relationship will never die. We are social beings, so we love to interact with other human beings. That's never going to die, but I also believe that what we do here is going to stay. Mm-hmm. It's been established, and let's be clear, I mean, for the next 6-7 months, that is probably the best we can get. You won't be able to leave the US. I won't be able to come to the US. So, and you're in good company. Some of my great friends are in the US, and the only way to stay connected is what we do right now.
Right.
And that's going to live for a while. But I also believe, once we can meet again, Jesus, there will be a few celebrations.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure about this as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and you always said that you could predict what kind of year Lange would have by how much beer is consumed at the booth at SIHH. So we'll have to try to set a record for that.
Yeah, last year was a record year. You're absolutely right. This year we're missing that indication actually. Because, we tried hard here, but we weren't good enough.
I see. Well, keep up the good work. So you see this kind, maybe other kinds of digital outreach and connection with customers as being an enduring feature of what you do as a company.
I'm pretty sure, yes. Live streaming, live chatting, Zoom meetings, Skype meetings. Whatever system you use. I don't want to do product placement here. That's not. But I just share with you what I use. And I have to say I enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it. It helps me staying connected with my South African friends, with my American friends, with people that are not traveling at the moment, like me. I'm married 25 years next year, and that's the longest period of time ever that I, went to my own bed at night and woke up in my own bed in the morning. Same here. I can't even, it's unheard of what, and to be honest, some of it enjoy, I have to say.
Yeah, it's not so bad. It's not so bad, is it?
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad. All those years of being on there. Anyway, well, thank you so much for taking this time and for sharing your thoughts and being so frank with us. Any parting words for all the enthusiasts? It's over 100 consistently during this, and then of course we'll be replaying this on both of our media over time. Just a few words to finish up.
Yeah, I think that the most important for me at the moment is that you all take good care, stay healthy, safe and sane, take the few precautions that we all can take to manage this crisis. I'm not wearing a mask here, but other than that, I am wearing masks. We try to protect our people. It's a few fundamentals that you have to bring into your daily routine. And again, I can't wait seeing you all in person at SIHH or Watches and Wonders. That's the new name of it. or anywhere else in the world. That's actually the most important for me. Stay safe, sane, and healthy.
Great. Thanks so much. Same to you and the entire Lange family. And
Thank you, Gary.
again, really wonderful to spend this time with you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks again.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.